everybody. I'm Janice Lung, and I'm really taking advantage of this opportunity today to visit a little bit more in depth with Blayne. And I think you all are somewhat familiar with Blayne as well, but perhaps I'll ask some questions today that will give you some more insights, more knowledge of where he's coming from, and where he's taking his business. So Blayne, thank you for this opportunity
Thank
to interview you today.
For the opportunity to give an interview.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Blayne, can we just begin? I know I've met you a couple times and I've had some opportunities to learn a lot about you, but I wonder if we could just begin by you telling us a little bit about what brought you to where you are today. Describe your journey for us briefly if you can.
Okay, well, sometimes I have trouble doing things briefly, but I will do my best. So, as I look back now, my whole life has brought me to this point. I see things in the past that brought me here that I didn't realize were heading me in this direction. But to make a longer story short, about 5 years ago, I went through a really bad, dark time. And it was a divorce after 30 years of marriage, which was a kind of a shocker. And I always felt like my wife would always be there. I sort of took it for granted, And I don't have any animosity towards my former wife, but at the time I fell into a depression, and at one point I contemplated suicide. And after about 3 months of feeling this way, and I would wake up in the morning feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm still here. And so I was in a really dark place, but I got sick and tired of feeling that way. And I had decided that I needed to do something. And so I made a decision, and the decision was that I was going to pull myself out of it somehow, some way, even though I had no idea how. And that was an important decision. Once I made that decision, things started coming to me. I've always been kind of an upbeat, positive person most of the time, although I don't know if everybody would agree with that knows me for a long time. But I had read a lot of books and different things, and including most of the world's scriptures, and books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and some of the classics and that kind of thing. Sayings and things from those books started popping into my head. It's like the universe conspired to help me pull myself out of that. I'm like, oh yeah. Probably a turning point was, I'm a musician, and I played in rock bands in the 80s and heavy metal bands and all kinds of stuff, trying to get a record deal. And I still play, but so I always enjoyed listening to music and playing music. And so I was listening to a band called Mofro, folks. Check them out. Great band. They're an R&B band. They're a newer band, but they sound old school R&B. And I love the way the guy sings. Anyways, they have a song called The Ballad of Larry Webb. And in that song, there was a line in there. It's one of my favorite songs. That he would work from day to night, and then in the evening he'd feel his body's pain. But every morning he'd wake up and greet the sunshine with a love for all it is. And that just resonated through me. That line resonated through me. And I was feeling down, depressed, suicidal, didn't want to be here. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to get up every morning and greet the sunshine, with a love for all it is. And I felt a little silly, but nobody was around, so who cares, right? So I would get up every morning and I would go through this, I call it the attitude of gratitude. You may have heard that term before. And I would thank God, the universe, whatever, for everything that I had, the good, the bad, the ugly. And, at first I felt kind of silly, and then but I just said, I'm just going to continue to do this and see what happens. And after about 20 days or so, the clouds started to part. And I started to feel a little bit better. And I thought, wow, I'm going to keep doing this. Because you're programming your mind, your subconscious is where your core beliefs are. You may think you want something consciously, but if your subconscious counteracts it, you won't get what you want because you're not focused on it. Anyways, after about a month, I started feeling better, and I wanted to live life again. And then and I continued to do that. And that was a turning point for me. And I thought, wow, if I can change that, what else can I change by doing that?
That's a powerful story. That's a powerful story. I've heard this idea recently that it's often not until much later in our life that we're able to look back and be able to connect the dots.
That's
And,
true.
that ability or that willingness look back in our life and connect the dots of all of the experiences that we've had along the way and how they were supposed to happen to bring us exactly where we are. And your story sounds like a real powerful example of that. Another thing that it makes me think of to listen to you speak is how shared your story is by so many people.
It's really a universal story.
Yeah, yeah. But that
the
puts you
details
in
differ, but
absolutely, absolutely. But I think that puts you in a place where people feel like they can connect with you. You truly understand where they are in their own process, in their own journey right now. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that. So what are you doing with that? What specifically are you doing in your business to draw from your life experience and your journey?
Well, after going through that and applying, I learned about 10 keys and principles doing that. And I realized, if I could change that one thing, I can change other things. And so I did. I started changing things in my life using that same principle.
Yeah.
And it's basically the principle, the one of the key or foundation principles of affirmation. You start telling yourself, you start talking to yourself about what you want to do, what you want to be, and it reprograms the subconscious, to put it on a very, scientific level, if you want to put it that way. But there's a power to that, and the ancient wisdom, esoteric wisdom, has been teaching that for millennia.
Yeah.
And quantum physics is now starting to confirm a bunch of this stuff. So it's really, really fascinating stuff. But anyways, I started changing my core programming from my lifelong habits of, that got me where I was at. And you've talked about something before that everything, you're where you're supposed to be, and the universe kind of conspires to bring you where you're supposed to be. And sometimes you resist that. And you'll get subtle hints and subtle promptings to do something, and then if you don't do it, you'll get stronger ones, and then they'll get stronger. And if you continue to resist long enough, you will come to a crisis, which is what happened to me. I came to a crisis, and that forced me to move forward. And now I actually look back on that crisis as one of the best things that ever happened to me, to move me forward. And I always say life is resistance training. It's kind of like lifting weights. Imagine yourself going into the gym, right? You're going to lift weights, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get that physique, and those abs and everything. And but you go in there and all you do is complain about everybody. Well, if these weights weren't so heavy, I could lift more of them, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, it's like life. People don't do that. You go to the gym, or even if you do it at home, because that pain's going to make you stronger, and you come to enjoy it. At some point, you realize that the sore muscles the next day, you feel good because you worked hard and that kind of thing. What if we could look at life as challenges that same way, instead of going, and complaining and moaning and groaning? And I'm going to ask you guys right now, anybody ever have the complaining change the reality of the reason why they were complaining in the first place? Never. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So if I could get back all the energy and time I wasted being angry and mad at people and holding grudges, my gosh, I could have built a multi-billion-dollar business of some kind that feeds the entire world.
Yeah. That's such a powerful piece of advice, and again, I said this earlier, but such a great perspective to come from that I think people really value. You coming from that. So, how do you work with individuals? How could a person work with you if they were interested in you helping them or, hiring you?
This journey led me to when I realized I could do these things for myself. I thought, boy, I really need to share these with people. And so I've been an IT specialist for many years. And I'm trying to get out of that, but I've always wanted to start an online business, and now I'm in the process of putting a business together that brings these keys and principles to people so that they can learn them, and I can help teach them. And most people know these things on some level. They just need somebody to help bring it to the surface and remind them and give them some steps that they can take. and see some examples. You know, the best teaching is always by example. But people have to be ready, and so I'm looking for the people who are ready, and I have a website called dreamstarter.tv. That's dreamstarter.tv, and I have a free video series that you can go there, and I'll give you some of these keys and principles, and it's all completely free. And I'm just trying to offer that value right now through the internet, and eventually I will probably put together some courses and things that will help people, you know, more in depth on this type of thing. And I want to help humanity in my sphere of influence the best that I can, and so that's what I'm trying to do. And that seems like a big endeavor, you know, when I first started thinking, how do I help humanity, you know? It's like, well, you don't really have any influence, and so you know, you need to build up some kind of influence or credibility, I guess, with people. And you do that by your own experiences. You know, with my experiences, people can relate to that. And somebody might not be in despair like I was, but they might just feel like something's missing. They want to change something in their life. And you can use these principles to change any aspect of your life that you want. And so.
That's fantastic. So what I hear you saying is that if I'm watching this and if I want to work with you, I don't even have to leave my home. I can incorporate you. I can access your online website, and I can work with you in the comfort and the safe space of my own home, and learn from your experiences and really gain some of your powerful and insights along the way.
Yeah, and you get to talk to me through video. Video is a great thing. It's not the same, I guess, on a personal level. Eventually, I will probably get on a personal level with people, face to face. But right now, we can reach a lot of people, and I want to reach as many people as I can and help them, you know, get out of that whatever it is that they feel is holding them back. And there's a way. There's always a way. You know, does this sound familiar? It's like, oh, I'm too old, or I don't have enough time. I don't have the money. What will my family and friends think about this, and so on and so forth. Those are all excuses, you know, and some of them are valid excuses, but they're still excuses, and there's a way through those excuses, and you can find a way through them, but you have to be ready to make some commitments, as you have mentioned before.
Yeah, and you probably you know those excuses because you used those excuses for so long in your own life.
I'm an expert at them.
And so so you know us as well as we know ourselves. And I guess I just want to offer up a little bit of feedback. I've seen your videos, and on Facebook I've seen the power of your messages and how they really impact other people. And you know, they've shared feedback and comments and engage in dialogue through based on your videos. And I've seen how many people are sharing your messages to others in their lives that they care about as well. So
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The kind compliments. And you know, they say that sharing on Facebook is the top what do you call it? The top approval of your thing. You can get a lot of likes on something, but when somebody wants to share it, then that means you really touch them. And so that you know, and I really appreciate those, because you know, when I first started doing these videos, I thought nobody's going to want to watch this stuff. You know, just me rambling about my experiences, right?
Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of good feedback on there, and so I appreciate that. And I'm starting to think, well, gee, maybe I can actually help some people with some of this stuff, and that's what I want to do. That's my passion.
So here's a question for you. I work with people one-on-one, face-to-face, and so I can interpersonally relate to others. When you have an online business model or online reach, where do you find rewards in that? How do you, where do the rewards come for you?
I think it's much the same as being interpersonal, and you know, there's no substitute for being face-to-face and interpersonal. But you know, today's busy lifestyle, it's hard, and so that, you know, like I said, I'll get into that. But the rewards are much the same. Is seeing somebody take your advice or whatever, and do something with it to change their life, and seeing the excitement, they come back and send you an email, or gives them feedback on your website, or even text you or message you on Facebook and say, I tried that thing that you suggested, and man, it's working, it's changed my life. That's the greatest reward right there. And one of the things I enjoy about doing online thing is when somebody asks me a question, it gives me, if it's face to face, I got to have an answer right there for them. Well, I don't got to, but I feel obligated to do that, and I always try my best to do that. But it gives me some time to think about it, and I can formulate maybe a little bit more detailed and personal message to that person if they ask me online. So there's advantages and disadvantages to being online.
Yeah.
And so we're going to just try and look at the advantages and move forward from there, and then eventually I will scale it out to where we can get on a personal basis. I can imagine this business scaling out and having several people involved, like someone like yourself, doing this with people and getting interpersonal. Maybe down the road we can look at collaborating on something, and you can do the more interpersonal part and I can do the online stuff, something like that. I'm looking at all kinds of things. I'm trying to focus on one thing at a time. Right now I'm just trying to put out as much value as I can to people, and get some feedback on that. And so,
well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I just as a follow up, clearly you are having an impact. I think we all can understand and relate to receiving so many emails in our inbox and seeing so many videos or talks online, and we can become numb to those.
yes.
And the fact that people are giving you feedback, the fact that people are putting forth the energy to let you know that your message, your tools, and your words are helping them, I think says a lot about the power of what it is that you're doing. So
I appreciate it, and that's a big reward in itself right there. Just getting a little bit of that feedback. I look forward to reading some of that stuff. I was like, I put this thing out there the other day. I wonder what people are saying about it. You know?
They're saying a lot. So you got a lot of things going on, and it sounds like there's just a lot of possibilities to take your business. What's your next step for you? Where are you going from here?
Well, my next step is really to kind of fine tune the message right now. Like I said, I have a 3-part video series that people can go to my website, dreamstarter.tv, one more time, and check out those videos. And I would love some feedback on them. Tell me what you think and where I can improve, and what you think you'd like to hear. Because I want to give people something that they want. I don't want to try and force something on people that they don't want. So, of course, everybody's free to click or not click on something, and so we do that. It's like you were saying, you can get numb to all the videos and that kind of thing. I want to put something out there that stands out a little bit, that people go, oh yeah, I want to know what that is. Yeah, I'm in. And so, because I do that myself, I run across videos. I want to make this a worldwide. I want to scale this into a worldwide thing. I'm headed to London on the 13th of September, and I'm going to, one of my mentors is having a world premiere of a movie called Iron Mind, and his name is Brian Rose. You can check it out. Just go type in Iron Mind world premiere, and it's a movie about him. He's been on this kind of journey that we're talking about. Some people call it the hero's journey. And he decided, he was challenged by a friend of his to do an Ironman triathlon, and he's over 40 years old, and do it on a vegan diet without a meat diet, which I thought was really interesting. And so he does. He has a company called London Real, and he does all kinds of videos, and so some great content out there. And he's one of my mentors, somebody that I'm trying to learn from, because he does these great things, and he's made this world premiere movie that's coming out now about his journey along the way there, and it's a journey of change, and so you can relate. people can relate to this, even though you may not want to be a triathlete, but you can relate to how you change things in your life doing that. The same thing with me. You might not be in a position of despair like I was at one time, but you can still learn from everybody's different things that they've had happen in their life. You can learn how to change your own life, because the keys and principles to that change are the same regardless of the details and the circumstances of your life. So I'm excited. My wife and I are headed out to London. We were thinking of going to Italy this year, but that didn't pan out. And so, like you said, the universe kind of conspires to put you where you're supposed to be. So I get to meet my mentor and a bunch of other fellow entrepreneurs who are doing the same thing. And
what a great opportunity. He clearly, Brian Rose, he clearly is miles and miles and miles ahead on his journey than most of us are. And what a great position you are in to kind of be the bridge between where he is and where most of us are. And you can grab our hand and bring us gently along our own path, and be inspired by his accomplishments and where he is. But, you really are kind of a bridge for us to help us get along there or get toward there in our own journey. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this with us today. Did you want to add something?
I was just going to say, I went, backing up a little bit, speaking of Brian, when I ran across him and I liked his stuff and decided to make him one of my mentors. I went back and looked at his real early stuff. He's been doing this for, I think, about 7 years or stuff. And I looked at some of his early video content and I was like, wow, he's no better than I am right now. He was no better than I am right now. Now look at him, And so this stuff, it's going to get better.
It's all a process, isn't it? It's all process.
It is.
Blayne, thank you so much for sharing this with us today. And again, what are some final words that you want to offer on our as we wrap up our talk today?
Okay, well, some final words would be, if you're feeling kind of static in your life, if you're feeling like you want to change, or you had a dream when you were a kid, or maybe even as an adult, and you feel like it's out of reach, stop doing that, okay? Go look at my 3 videos. That'll help you get that dream off the shelf, so to speak, and dust it off. You can make the change. There's ways, and there's people here to help you. Janice and myself, and there's many other people out there too that can help you. Don't let your dream die. Dream suicide is life suicide.
Dreams, your website, Dreamstarter.
Dreamstarter.tv. So, and I'm going to take a bunch of videos in London and all my travels. I'm looking at traveling more eventually here, and so I'm going to be putting out more videos and interviews with great people like Janice.
Can't wait to see them. Can't wait to see them. Blayne, thank you very much.
Thanks, Janice.
Thanks
for having me.
All right.